Welcome with us, Bill. I'm Federico from Develer. We are here for the library team inside Develer. So, as you've seen here, we have some books, and we try to improve the learning stuff for Develer with books from UX, coding, of course, and also a copy of the Lord of the Rings that is very clear. And your case is you wrote a book couple of years ago on Go, and now we are doing like training courses and so on. So we're interested in your opinion and your journey from a writer to a trainer, let's say, and that's it. So if you want to introduce yourself and tell us about your story and, as I said, your journey.
I'm Bill Kennedy with Arden, ARDAN Labs, and we are a training and consulting company, very much like what you guys do. Primarily focus in the States, and we have a couple European clients. I wrote my first book called Go in Action in 2015, and that book was really a result of blogging. Really started with blogging. And then as I was blogging through 2013 through 2014, Brian Kelson and Eric St. Martin, who runs the Go conference in the USA, they were writing the Go in Action book, decided they needed help, saw all the blogging I was doing, and then they invited me to write that book. And then after I wrote that book, companies like Comcast, I think was my first client. They started inviting me to go and start teaching all that stuff I had learned to write the book.
Great. So just to have an idea, how was your, let's say, writing process? So you said you had the blog, so you already, I guess, had all the materials available somehow, but then you had to patch it somehow for
No,
books or
not really. I mean, blogging is to write a blog post, it would take me anywhere from a week or two.
wow.
Yeah, I mean, you start writing, you do research, you refine that.
We were doing, let's say, high level resolving technical deep dive into some topics before AI, let's say, also way before, and
But even with AI, it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, you're doing the research, you're talking to people, you're experimenting. The book ended up taking about 18 months. The book was a labor of love. I respect anybody that starts a book project and finishes it. It's not easy. It requires hours a day to sort of get it done over 12 to 18 months.
did you enjoy the process?
No, I enjoyed it in the beginning. And then when Manning decided to start publishing small parts of it, it got very real. And then I wanted to finish it. So that actually burnt me out on writing by the time that I couldn't write again for a long time. Um, then I started writing blog posts again. And then in 2018, I think, I published a second book, which was really a lot of the material I was teaching in my courses.
Okay.
That one, again, that took like about 6 months to get done. And um, writing is an important process. If you're going to teach, you really have to sit down and sort of write out all the thoughts and ideas because there's no context in writing. You constantly have to make sure that the flow of what you're trying to communicate is always in context. So you have to do the writing part. Then you could start to sort of teach and be on video and things. But you can't skip the writing part. That being said, writing is very tedious. It will burn you out very, very quickly.
Okay. Oh, that's really interesting. I mean, I prepared some questions now, but I will like give some hand in this because I'm very interested in that. Since now you said writing is like the starting part to build the knowledge and to build the context, no, on the matter, on the topic, and then you can move on to the training, an audience of people, and but from the point of view of the learner, do you think that a book is less not enjoyable, but less effective than a training or different, simply different?
Everybody learns differently.
Okay.
And so if you're going to be an educator, you have to produce words, you have to produce video, and you have to sort of words and video and um, what's another way people learn, like podcasts or however you're going to do that, just audio. But you have to do all of it because everybody learns. There are people who like to read more than they like to watch a video. When I watch a video, I always have to watch it on like 1.5,
Okay.
1.75, because the person's never moving fast enough for me, right?
Okay.
If it's real deep technical information I'm looking for, I'd rather it be written because I can move at my own pace and get to what I need really quickly. I think video is good for higher level stuff where you're trying to curse it.
A first impression of I'm interested in this topic or not, and then when you want to go deep, you start something written. You're on blogs or books or whatever, but something written, something slow, but dense. Let's say dense information.
But everybody learns differently. So if you want the most exposure, you got to really cater to everyone.
Yeah. You still read books on coding books, let's say, or
I don't think I've bought a book. I shouldn't say that. I've bought some books in the last year, uh, but I would say that the majority of where I'm getting my technical content from today is mostly a combination of some video and white papers.
yeah, and also experience on your daily work, no? Yes. Great, really great. Then, well, if you really want to switch to something more, let's say, on the spot on what you're teaching, so the go learning experience. So one the question is, what you've seen as a common mistakes for beginners when they start programming in Go, and what your best advice to avoid it. No, like I mean, it's not necessary to avoid mistakes because you learn from mistakes, but let's say bad part when you have to unlearn what you learn, no? That is the difficult part from my point of view.
Yeah, I think if you're learning any programming language, you have to start with a problem that you want to solve. Doesn't have to be a very big problem, doesn't have to be a complex problem. Preferably a problem that you've solved before in your previous language. And don't get hung up on the idioms for that language. Don't get hung up on style for that language. Just make the program work. Get it working.
Okay.
And once you get that program working, now you can sort of look at it and start to ask people that you know, experts, even the AI tooling that's out there, and ask your agent, um, how do you write this in a more idiomatic way?
Yeah.
And let others or even AI agents do that code change for you. And you can start to compare what you did with what is considered to be the most idiomatic way to do something. And you can learn from those refactorings. But until you try to do it yourself, that refactored code doesn't mean anything to you. You'll learn from the change that was made.
Yeah. And I guess, Ruska, that this is particularly important. Like for me, I'm not a professional in Go, let's say. I learned it a couple of years ago when I joined the Develer. And I learned it, let's say, in a translation way. Let's say I'm coding in C++ mainly. I try to translate no, what I have in my mind, my way of thinking in another languages into Go. And then as soon as I use it for my personal projects, just to play around and do stuff, I'm switching now. I just have to idiomatic stuff because at the beginning I was writing like C++ code for Go.
But that makes sense. That's what you knew, right? And so I think the biggest thing for people to learn and Go, once they've written a few programs and they're getting comfortable with the syntax and they're starting to learn some of the idioms, right? You really have to learn how packaging works and you have to learn how to write.
Packaging, you mean standard library or?
No, you writing your own packages,
Okay.
writing your own APIs. Because packaging is a core fundamental concept of the language, and it's where people really make their biggest mistakes when they start writing some larger projects. So you have to learn. And it took me a long time to really understand packaging and API design. And so in my classes, that's a fundamental thing I teach almost immediately when the class starts. Let's talk about packaging, package API design, things you should be thinking about, things you shouldn't. And it's never you shouldn't do because there are no absolutes, right? It's more around in general, follow these rules. Unless you have a
Learn the rules before breaking them, let's say.
yeah, learn the general practice until you, from an engineering perspective, identify an exception to take.
Yeah. And in general, why you, except from, I think, let's say professional reason, why you're still working with Go and not other languages, let's say more trendy or what? I'm not saying that it's not trendy Go since it's really increasing in users, but
I'm being paid to write Go. Okay, now that's where the market is. I enjoy Go. I've played a little bit with Rust, and I'm not a fan of the language. It doesn't resonate with me. I know people who love the language, and I'm happy for them. I think the next big language to look at, it slowed down a little bit. It had much more momentum last year. Is a programming language called Zig.
Zig, we had the course also.
So yeah, Zig is interesting.
Yeah, for different things. Let's say maybe you can do everything with all kind of languages at the end if you try hard enough. But I mean, each language has its own, let's say, business. Whereas it's onboard, really
Every language,
the problem.
yeah, every language has its purpose for existing. Yeah. So to use it for that purpose, you'll probably have good outputs.
Yeah. But anyway, Go is really, let's say, an open space where you can work on really a lot of topics and it works really good. Then, let's say, let's move to really the last questions and so on, since really, really interesting in your point of view, is kind of advice, no? Now you are an experienced writer, experienced programmer, and an experienced trainer, no? If you some writers and programmers, you can find them, I think, more commonly. Being a trainer, that means relations also with people, not face to face improvisation, since you don't know which questions are right. You know, when you write a book, you don't have questions. You put your own questions and your own answer. I think you can you provide some advice if someone wants to move from writing, as you said? So, first experience, then to a trainer, became a trainer in coding and programming languages in general. Do you have some advice?
Yeah, my advice is to develop 20-minute talks
20-minute talks.
and use the meetups that are out there to practice. If you can't deliver information about a particular topic in 20 minutes, you don't know it, or you're trying to share too much. And so you got to start with the 20-minute talk. And you give that same talk for at least a half a year, maybe the entire year. You keep tweaking it. Even if it's filmed, nobody has watched it. So every new meetup you go to, it's brand new for that person.
And another iteration and so on and so on.
You've got to give that talk at least 6 times before you probably feel you don't need to change anything. It takes about 6 iterations of hearing questions and learning how to, sorry. It takes about 6 times to get down the words you need, the right words, knowing what questions are coming to answer them before they have questions. So about 6 times. And then once you've done that, you can start the next sort of 20-minute talk that you're going to give. Eventually,
So you're piling up topics and then you can merge them in something more.
then you can go to a 40-minute talk. But here's the problem. Anybody can sit through a bad 20-minute talk. Your talk is going to be bad in the beginning because it's brand new. Everybody can tolerate it. Nobody can tolerate a 40-minute bad talk. Your brain can't handle it. So what you're trying to do is get a 20-minute talk with the entertaining quality of it sort of locked in. And then once you really learn how to deliver that 20-minute talk and you have 3 or 4 of them in your back pocket, which means you can go to any meetup at any time and give a talk, and you've learned the entertainment aspect of giving a talk, You can't hide behind a podium. You've got to move out a little bit. You got to interact. You got to make eye contact. You can't be, right? You learn all that stuff. Now you can do a 40-minute talk and successfully, hopefully, where you're able to get everybody to stay attentive for 40 minutes. Once you can do that, now you try an hour talk.
Okay, and then move forward.
Once you can do an hour talk and everybody's entertained and time goes like this, now you can think about training, because you're going to be in a room for 4 to 8 hours and you've got to be able to hold somebody's attention for that long and keep them entertained and engaged. If you're going to be effective in whatever it is you're teaching, there's a skill to that, right? I always say at that point, you're an entertainer. When you're on stage or you're in the classroom, part of your job is a communicator, part of it is being an entertainer. If you don't have that entertainment quality, you're not going to get hired, because there's no way I can sit in that room.
I know, I agree. I think that you can do a complete speech without saying nothing. If you're good saying it, it's much better than saying with something really interesting and can't say it in a proper way. From the two, I prepare like an empty talk, but really entertaining. I don't know. I'm like that. I mean, I lose attention if someone, and what you're saying, I think it's really true. It's really cool. Yeah, and you enjoy doing trainer and speech and
I do. I always have like 5 talks in my pocket. They can go anywhere from 30 minutes to up an hour. But I've been doing it for 12 years, so I should have that, right? And I'm always coming up with new talks every couple of years that I can jump on stage and do. But I'm doing 20 hours of training. So there's material in 20 hours of training that can also be little talks. But you got to get there in baby steps. You're not going to do that overnight.
great. I think that from our side, it's been really interesting. At least from my side, really original, because it's not usual to have someone who dress several dresses. No, the trainer, the writer, the coder, and so on, and having everything mixed up. It's really interesting to your point of view. So that's it. Thank you very much, Lee, and good luck for the continuing of our training course.